there is a hard cost to it. Now we have a way to track that. So every remarket has a cost, every service case, every COI request, all that has a cost. So it matters who's doing it.
Welcome to the Insurance Refocused podcast, where we're highlighting real agent stories and how they are innovating to respond to the changes and challenges happening in the independent insurance industry. My name's Lindsay, and I can't wait to introduce you to my amazing co-host, who just so happens to be my mom, Carey Wallace. Mom, how you doing today?
It is going well, Linz. This is my favorite day of the month. We get to talk to some of my absolute favorite people, and today is no different. Today, I am excited to welcome one of my very good friends, an agency that has done amazing things in Ohio with data and transforming an agency that he's been part of for 16 years, I hear. So anyway, I'm super excited to introduce Ryan Pessell of Hitchings Insurance. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah.
It's always good to catch up, and I love what you guys are doing. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Well,
Awesome.
it's great to meet you, Ryan. We haven't had the pleasure yet, so I'm excited to jump in and learn a little bit more about you and what you're doing at Hitchings Insurance. But first, I would love to just dive right in and talk about what it means to be a neon agency. I hear about neon all the time, but to be honest with you, I'm new to the industry and I don't know exactly what that means. And I'm sure people listening to this don't either. So I would love if you could just give me a little context to start out the episode.
Wow. Yeah. So going deep right off the get.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been in our myself and our agency. Me and Carrie have been in Neon since the very beginning. So can't say the very beginning, but long before it was actually launched. And yeah, we went down. I just started seeing things on social, and I was, what is this? Like, what is Neon? And I actually put on a meeting, Seth, and we were actually meeting at the OIA headquarters before it had moved. There's probably 10 agents, some of the OIA staff, and just what is it? Um, and it's changed from what it started as, honestly. So um, went down, heard the first pitch, like, what are you running on? And the response from Seth was neon. Like, what is neon? So get in, and then it got really deep after that. So we ended up heading up to his office in Cleveland a couple weeks later, and just like totally opened the back end up. What can it do for agents? What's the future look like? And yeah, so what it's like to be a neon agent for us, we were lacking a really solid CRM component to our management system, and we had been looking for something to help our sales folks out. AMS systems are great policy management tools. They are not CRMs. I haven't found anybody that's really been super happy with an AMS and being a CRM. So that was one of the pieces for us that was a huge bonus to pick up. And then it's really evolved into this data monster. Um, I mean, I have 120 reports that I look at on a daily basis that I have tagged. Um, so obviously like book of business reports, it's broke down by line of business, by policy type, revenue, premium, all that kind of stuff. And then I've got things like, for our service team, how many open cases we're working, how long they've been open, what types, um, you know, what are our people doing on a daily basis is kind of what I'm looking at. And then we've got just like a sales report. So it's got 20 different metrics in it that we look at. Again, broken down by line, by producer, by revenue, by premium. Um, we've got a lead source dashboard. I'm looking at that constantly. Where's our business coming from? Where's our referrals coming from? Tracking paid Google, organic SEO stuff, our current customer base, and where all that stuff's coming from. Then we have a cancellation database. dashboard that I look at on a daily basis. What policies are we losing? Should we be losing them? Do we want to lose them? Do we want to market back to them, or is it a mistake? So just staying in the moment. So those are kind of some of the things that I look at on a daily basis. Um, and then also the big thing is the benchmarking across the country with agents. So that is a really cool piece that really nobody else has in the marketplace. So we're able to see how do we align with our peers. So how long is it taking us to handle service cases? How long is it by each individual case type? How long is it taking? How much is it costing me to that cost per transaction is a real thing. Should I have my people, my license, my high value people be doing certain things, or should I be passing it off to a VA? So that's all the data we're kind of looking at. It's very deep. I mean, there's literally like I have we have over 500 different reports, but I'm looking at around 200 of them on a weekly basis that are digestible. They're not fluff. They're not hard to understand. They're really, what is happening in my business and what is happening with our people, what's happening with our partners. So, we're looking at a ton of different things. And the other piece last thing on our aggregated data that I really like is the carrier feedback. So how are our carriers performing? How long is it taking to process claims? How long is it taking to process service changes? How long is it taking to requote? So I can look at all that at an aggregated way, which is really key. When I have a rep that sits in here and says, "Oh, we're doing great things," it's like, yeah, but you're taking twice as long at everything versus your your peers in the same state. So we look at a lot of that kind of stuff, and we get a kind of a pulse for how business is actually being done versus how it feels. Like you get a pretty good feel for it, but some things are what you look at it like, why is it taking 180 days to requote a small commercial account that's 15 to 25,000 in premium? Why is it taking so long? And is it the people? Is it our process? Like, where's the breakdown?
If you're like me and many other small businesses across the country where hiring, training, and retaining employees is a challenge, Agency VA has a solution for you. Agency VA has over 1,000 VAs hired, managed, and trained in the Philippines, Latin America, and India. But did you also know they have 100 licensed agents here in the US that can help you manage your book? I use a VA who lives in the Philippines, and I absolutely love her. The process was simple. We had a consultation where they asked me my needs, goals, and concerns, and matched me with Allie, who has been an absolute game changer for me. Employing Allie through Agency VA has allowed me to focus on my business without worrying about HR concerns, turnover, and monitoring payroll. The best part is the Agency VA team was eager to help my company and also make sure that Allie is getting employee benefits, a competitive salary to help her live a better life in the Philippines. If this is something that you are struggling with inside your agency, please visit agencyva.com/insurance refocused and set up a time to talk to them about your hiring needs. So Ryan, when someone asks me what's a neon agency, sometimes I'm just saying it's an agency that runs on data. It literally is a data-driven organization that has access and line of sight across that agency to make staffing decisions, partner decisions about what customers they want to have, who's your ideal customer. That really is what Neon was meant to be, is to really empower an agency owner to look and comprehend what's happening inside their business in order to drive their business, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've that not only not only what you've said, but really the relationships that we've made because of it has been life changing for me. I've met so many solid agent owners and marketers at these agencies and the VPs of these agencies, owners and non-owners alike, that just have this common goal to be better and how to utilize technology with humans. It's not to replace humans, it's to enable humans. And I think, I think we're all striving to have this, I don't know if you want to call it a hybrid model, but being tech savvy and using technology to assist our humans is really the goal, and what we've seen. And some of those partnerships we've made, I mean, they're super valuable. We have a group text called the Final Four. It was the Final Four, you know, pilot agencies, and we've stayed in touch, and we literally have open books with each other's business. I know exactly the revenue of their agencies. I know exactly, what they're doing in new business sales. I know the tax side of it. And it's helping us grow is what it's doing. And it's really a cool partnership that we formed because of this project. So that's another piece of what is it to be a Neon agent. It's the partnership that you get from your peers.
So I will tell you, the collaboration between agents that are like-minded, there's nothing better than that, because now someone truly knows what you're going through and has the insights that you do as well. Because talking to someone who doesn't, it might muffle how far you can take that conversation. So I 100% know what you're talking about. But for the people who don't know you, I do want to back up for just a minute. So Ryan, explain what your agency was like when you first entered, where you're located, like how big the area is that you're in, because a lot of people think agents that are doing this are they might have a preconceived notions about what agents look like who are leveraging data. And I'd love for you to just give a little perspective of what the agency looked like before Neon and now, like a little bit of contrast.
Yeah, so we're in a town, Findlay, Ohio. It's a great community, roughly 45,000 people. So it's not a big metropolitan area. It's a solid community. We are anchored by Marathon Petroleum, Whirlpool Corporation, the former Cooper Tire, which was bought by Goodyear. So we've got these big Fortune 500 companies here which anchor us. We have the rail, and we have I-75, which really makes us solid, and a place that companies are looking to come to. Um, like Campbell Soup just moved in, the McLean companies. So there's some big name companies that help our community grow, which really is nice for us on the personal line side. So really solid, small community. We were named the top micropolitan community like 10 years in a row now. So that factors in like growth, investment in the community, infrastructure, all those type of things. So it's a really solid community. But yeah, I mean, I'm just really I'm a farm kid. I grew up out in the country. I played college basketball. Came from a normal working class family. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a tech kid. I wasn't raised, I didn't know how to code. I don't know the deep workings of on that type of thing. But so yeah, to have this vision, the agency was started by my grandfather in '68 out of his home. He was selling life insurance, and he got to a point where he was making more revenue selling life insurance out of his home than he was school teaching. And he kind of looked at my grandmother and was like, "What are we doing? We should go down this road and become insurance agents." So that's what he did. So that was in 1976. He went and actually formed and started selling, insurance full time, and he started in the P&C and life side. Bought up a couple small agencies, and then he ended up retiring in '03. He sold to my father and my uncle, 50% partners in '03, and then my father retired in '16, which I bought his portion out, and then my uncle retired last year, and I bought the remaining 50%. See, that brings us to present day. Yeah, I mean, legacy. It's funny. We went through this when I started. I mean, it was just the building itself. We have this beautiful Victorian building right on Main Street in our community. It's beautiful, but it needed heavy remodel both inside and out. So I saw that. Um, it's funny though. We used to be a paper agency like 15 years ago. I mean, we finally got out of that conversion maybe 8-9 years ago. But like it's funny to me because we used to buy filing cabinets, and that was a celebration that we were growing. Like, oh my gosh, we need another filing cabinet. We have all these clients. Like it was a sell. Like we were still buying those when I was working in this agency. It's funny. It's so hilarious to me. That was just the view of things, and like it got to a point where I was like, I went to my dad. I said, Dad, we can't operate like this anymore. Like we've got to move forward, and we can't do it with paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so hard, but we just had to. You had to scan all those documents in, and we actually went to Hawksoft. We were on Doris, which is an applied product that's not very good, and for its time it was probably okay, but we just weren't utilizing the systems. I said, Dad, we've got to do something. So we jumped over to Hawksoft, and that's a great company and great people, and it really was a tool that helped us get moving forward. But yeah, we needed something more, and so yeah, you don't have to be from big city to utilize technology and grow, and
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a little bit about that.
Hey guys, if you're looking to improve your bottom line, allow your team to operate efficiently, and really improve that customer retention, I believe you should check out Ascend. Ascend is the all in one insurance payment solution. They are focused on streamlining your invoicing, premium financing, accounting, and they'll even make your carrier payables for you. They are taking agency bill and making it as easy as direct bill. That is a game changer. They integrate with all of the major AMS players, and here's the best part. It's free. There is no subscription, no cost to you. They allow your customers to pay how they want. If you are interested in improving your efficiency, go visit ascend.com/insurance refocused and let them know that we sent you.
For other, I mean, what would your advice, or and I guess not even your advice, what I really want to know is what was the transition like from being a paper agency to going paperless? I mean, if someone's listening to this right now and they haven't
Life
gone
changing.
paperless, like, but what was the transition in your agency with your staff? How did that go?
Honestly, once you make the decision, there's that one is so easy for people because it is 2023,
Mm-hmm.
so people they're okay with that. It's just that huge undertaking of how do you take. Oh, Lindsay, if I were to guess, I bet we had 25 filing cabinets, like
Oh my
completely stuffed full
gosh.
of paper.
Yeah, that you were celebrating buying. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
Yeah.
cultural change to go from
yeah,
celebrating, I need yet another one, to I'm going to eliminate all of
yeah,
this. Like, think
yeah.
about
Like just
that.
imagine the
Yeah.
space that took up in our agency. Like just the view that had. Like it's grotesque to me now thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like with how our office is now, it's insane. But really, it's once you do it and you get past the so simple. You scan those into a file, obviously into a client file, and you tag it and name it. Have your conventions figured out, and once it's in the past, your agency runs so much better. It's just you have everything at your fingertips. You type in your search, and here comes the document. So yeah, I know there's still agencies that are operating this way, and it's frightening to think about it, but it's really not that big of an undertaking if people would just
Just do it. You just got to
just
do
do
it,
it.
Mm-hmm.
right?
You got to
Yeah.
jump in.
So here's the
100%.
thing, Ryan. I want to jump in, and here's the reality. If someone's listening to this and they are not a data-driven organization, it is really hard to wrap your head around what does that actually mean. So I would love to use some specific examples of, I know you said 100 reports, and even that sounds overwhelming to people. Like, you look at 100 reports. Well, you do. But if the reports are telling you things that drive decisions and action in your agency, that's great. If they're just data for data's sake, then I would tell you, oh my goodness, stop doing that. I know that you're making decisions with data. So can you use like one or two examples of what you see on a report, what action it drives, and how it's changed how you run the agency from when your grandfather and your father were running it?
Yeah, I'll hit one that's probably a big talking piece for most, and it's billing. So when we switched over to the Salesforce, the Neon, it was alarming to us of that 18% of our overall service transactions were in billing. So to us, that told us we are we are essentially spending two salaries to collect payments. Why are we doing this? So we at that point we went in and we started an EFT contest where we started paying our staff. I think we started at like $10 per EFT. Like think about
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. What is it, EFT?
electronic funds transfer.
Okay,
So
okay,
people were walking in and making payments for their insurance plans still.
okay,
And this
Ah,
was
yeah.
okay.
um what 4 years ago?
Mhm.
Wow.
I had no idea it was this big of an issue. Like I'm talking 200 to 250 cases a month.
Whoa.
They were
Think
walking
about
into your office, handing you cash or check, which takes time, effort, money, and you're changing them to pay you electronically so you can save the
yep,
time and effort that it does that. Okay. So,
yeah,
number
of
one, you had
them
to
and
know
us.
what it was. Like, how many
Yeah,
are there, right? Okay.
yep, yep. If you talk to every mom and pop and locally owned insurance agent, they probably have some type of payment process where people are still walking into
Yep.
their agency.
Yep.
Not all, but a lot. I can look at my small community and I can guarantee you there's at least 7 or 8 agencies in this town that are doing that. We looked at it like, hey, we are literally just losing money out the back end. And I had no idea it was that high until I had the data to show, because how we track our cases is it a phone call? Is it an on-site visit? Is it an email? Is it a text message? So it aggregates all that data to say, hey, this is how many people are doing this, and this is the case type that they're doing. So we were able that was like one of the first aha moments of the data, was to change how we do payments. So there's no longer any cash. Everything's got to be EFT. It's either paid in full or EFT on new business only. And we're no longer doing walk-ins. So that changed everything. It was just a huge um, it just brought that to the surface that we weren't even aware that 18% of our service cases were billing. Um,
So, Ryan, I would be crazy if I didn't jump in here and just say not only were you losing money and time and effort of the people that work inside your agency, but I know you're not looking to sell, but if you ever were looking to sell, that is a huge factor in the value of your business for a potential buyer to know, do I need to keep two locations? Can I turn it into one location? What does that look like? It actually is a huge factor that many people don't know the actual volume of people that are coming into their office, paying by cash, paying by check, whatever that is. I mean, just that line of sight knowledge gives you the ability to work on something that can drive the value of your business up and the transferability of your business up. And most people don't think about it that way, right?
yeah, that's the whole other side of the sword, right? All of this. So I can answer essentially any question about our agency operations in a matter of seconds. Whereas before, I really had to hunt for the information, and some information you just didn't know because there was no tracking metric to it. So having all this data is really, I'm going through some M&A activity myself, and to be able to provide some of these reports to, just to your banker, to the financing folks, it's amazing. Like I literally had the underwriting of it done in less than a half hour. I mean, I had every single document, and like it. Think about how much time it saved me. They want you to open your book. What do you have? What are you doing? What's your growth? Um, so it didn't used to be that easy. Like anytime I sign it, like if we get a new carrier contract, going through the reporting now, it used to take me hours to how much business do you have in this line? How much in commercial? How much in personal? How much in home? How much? Like I literally just click a button and boom, it's right there, and I'm done in like 10 minutes. Like there's so much time savings when you have the data, So and those are just common use. It's not complicated. It's really just knowing what you have and where it is. I mean, management systems are not great at tracking that kind of stuff. So that's
So so does it add steps to your staff's process? Because you mentioned like with the billing. So every time someone paid, if it was walk in, did they have to manually go and take a step to enter that data, and now that doesn't exist, or they still have to do that, or how is that tracked?
Yeah, I mean it's not really any different than a legacy AMS system. I mean you still have an action of some sort you have to make to enter the data, but yeah, it's not an extra step. All you're doing, um, it's a maybe a little bit different flow, but there's not any extra work that is because of it. A lot of our So the cool thing about Salesforce now, you hear a lot of people in the industry are like, oh, you got to spend so much to customize it to your agency, and maybe, but really it's having the right people and the right partners in place to understand what you need and build it out. I just every time I hear that, I just shake my head, and it's kind of disappointing that they're trying to drive people to different technologies without actually knowing how it works. So the customization piece is where you build out a lot of that automation, Lindsay, to where it's point and click and boom, everything is tied together, um, to where it's actually less work. So it's automatically grabbing the right policy. It's automatically there's so many. It's automatically assigning a follow up case. It's automatically setting the date for follow up. So there's a lot of things that you're not manually doing that are strictly automated at this point.
So, Ryan, tell me about that process because you didn't go from 26 filing cabinets to full automation overnight. What did that look like? Tell me, yeah, just give a quick idea of what that looked like and maybe even how that changed the people that you hired on staff in order to build that out for you. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it went from paper. Literally, we would get these phone books with carbon copy paper, and they would get stapled into a paper file. I mean, that's how I started.
I know.
I've seen it all. It started there, and then it was Hawks Off. So it was I don't remember what it was called. I think it was called an action. Um, I think Hawks Off's a great thing, but it just there was no you couldn't build that at the time. I don't know, maybe it's changed, but you couldn't build that product and customize it to what you actually needed done. So it was very follow this step. It was very rigid. And then when we went to Salesforce, it was building out that custom. With the help of Neon, they kind of had a model, and that's what they were started on was that service transaction of, hey, it goes here, it goes in like this, and it's processed from start to finish that way. And we've kind of beefed it up since then. We've done our own thing on top of their platform, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly a change, but I think it's for us, the Salesforce, it's just more intuitive. So like if you click a button, it actually goes to where you're going. Where in a legacy system, it may or may not do what you want it to do. That was our biggest gripe for our people. We brought some people over from the automotive industry. They'd like literally, they were on a Salesforce type platform. They'd click a button and boom, well, in that old system, you'd click on it and nothing would happen. They get like super frustrated. Like, no, you got to go through this legacy button up here, and then it's click, click, click. It's like 19 clicks to get something done. It was like just not what you would expect. It's not a good user experience. So that Salesforce has changed the game for that to bring us into a technology that's of 2023.
I think that's a great point because honestly, we are so used to an agency management system as the backbone of an agency when in fact that's really just your electronic filing system of your policies. That is not a
Exactly what it is.
workflow system. And the
Yep.
rest of the world does use things. I'm not saying the rest of the world is perfect, but they've evolved to using systems that walk them through a process. You guys are just saying we adopted a system that now walks us through a process and gives us line of sight. And the beautiful thing about this system is you have other agencies that are doing it as well. So now you have great comparisons, whereas an agency that's on a legacy system won't have the insights to know what their numbers are or know what their transactions or cases look like to even be able to say what percentage pay in person, what percentage pay online. Like it's a tough thing to know, right? So the payment in person is a great example. Ryan, what's another example of something data that in your system that drove you to a strategic decision for Hitchings?
There's so many.
I know.
Um, like so another big thing for us is honestly the CRM side of it and the sales. We had no real great way to track sales on a, like even a department level or an individual level for folks. So now, we've got, oh man, like there was no way for a producer, the way we were doing it, to really understand where they were at any given moment. Um, so we do like quarterly sales bonuses for all of our sales folks. We do contests now with those salespeople to say, hey, at the end of every quarter, you're going to get X if you win, the most revenue for the quarter. So like before, like we had no way to do that before. That it was just really like you could track premiums, but you really couldn't track revenue, and I know it's just kind of messy. So that was for us, it's a line of sight for our salespeople to really give them in moment where they're at for the year. So we've got all sorts of dashboards built. Now they have their own individual dashboards. I have it on an agency level. Carey's got it for marketing. So all sorts. So that piece changed how we can live in the moment now. I guess I would say that's just it sounds so simple, but it's really not. Um, so that's another piece that's really big for us. Another one, that I think people can, your average listener, agency owner, I think is the cancellation piece of it. So we've built out automations to where a policy gets triggered in download or by a VA or by a service staff member, it automatically kicks out an email to the producer with the account, policy number, name, phone number. Hey, XYZ policy is canceled. And what that does is a lot of times, you've got a situation where a customer didn't get a bill. I mean, our mailing system is awful. They're not set up on EFT. If they're a commercial lines customer, a lot of times they don't want to set up an EFT for a $10,000 transaction. They don't like that. They want to write a check. I mean, I understand. I don't like writing, I wouldn't want somebody pulling $10,000 out of my operational account. So I get that. So that's been a very good change to say, hey, this customer's policy's canceled. You might want to reach out. So it's avoided a lot of those, a lot of those come in pending cancel, so you can get them before they need reinstated. And just the reinstatement cost, it costs $88 per reinstatement. We've got that cost per transaction figured out, but how much time it takes and who's handling it. So that's kind of some of the data in the holy grail of why we're doing what we're doing.
So, you've said it a couple of times, so I have to ask about it. Um, Again, you and I were 10 years ago in a conference room, in Columbus, Ohio, talking about this kind of vision and thought process with Seth and several other agents that were interested. And I think a lot of people then would talk about their cost per customer or their cost per policy. No one was ever saying a transaction cost. That was not terminology that this industry utilized. So, cost per transaction was a byproduct of really breaking down what happens inside an agency at every step in the process. What are the things that you do? From your perspective, you now can see what your cost per transaction is in your agency. For those that don't have that line of sight, just share with them some of that. What insights did that bring to you specifically? Like, you know what I mean? And make it super simple,
Yeah.
Ryan, because there's many of them. But what are some simple things that it allowed you to see?
Well, I saw that, me as an agency owner, if I remarket an account, it costs me $351.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I have an account manager do it, it's down in like that $35 range. If I can have a VA do it, it goes down to like $5.93.
Yeah. So now who does the work matters is what I'm
Yeah.
hearing, right?
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, we have roughly on average 1,250 service cases a month. They all have a cost, right? You're paying salaries, you're paying benefits. There is a hard cost to it. Now we have a way to track that. So every remarket has a cost. Every service case, every COI request, all that has a cost. So
Mhm.
it matters who's doing it
It matters
in
who's doing
layman's
it
terms.
and matters who's efficient at it as well. Like you might do it
Right.
how
That's
many
the second
times,
piece.
Ryan? Like you might do it 5 times a month or whatever. I hope you don't do it ever. Actually, with the numbers you just told me, I hope you
Mhm.
never do that. But my point is, if you don't know and it's something you do occasionally versus actually streamlining that, it can be super, super cost ineffective in order to have
Mhm.
that kind of approach, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think VAs are, excuse me, VAs are, they're not really a hot topic. I think it's more accepted now among agencies. I think there's a lot of back end stuff being utilized by VAs. There's a lot of good, trustworthy VA companies out there now that are specific to insurance agencies. So I don't think there's that stigma anymore. Now it's just figuring out what can you send to them, what should you be sending to them, and how do you efficiently, and how do you grab more profit essentially at the end of the day. So I think it's figuring that. So with the way we work and that cost per transaction, we can really look at it and say, hey, we should really be sending X, Y, and Z over to them because it's more cost effective for us if they're capable to do it. You can't send them something that's so complex that it would never get done accurately. So you always got to factor that in. That's kind of a business decision and an understanding of who you're working with. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that those folks can do, and they're smart people too. I mean, it's not like you're talking about some type of program. I mean, you're dealing with humans at the end of the day.
Right.
So
Right. They're actually highly educated
very
and highly motivated to do the things and do them well if you give them the right process. So, and they're part of your team. They're actually one of the most essential parts of the team. I love that you said that it's not a hot topic. I get to travel around and talk to lots of groups of people. And my message is, how do you maximize the value of your agency? Well, your largest expense is your people. There's no two ways. Or your biggest asset and your largest expense is your people. But if you're not utilizing your people right, you could actually be leaving a ton of profitability on the table because you're not looking at it and thinking about the jobs that they do. It is interesting, Ryan. There are still rooms where two hands go up in 300 people in the room that utilize VAs. Like, there are some places where that is not a thing. I think you think it's widely accepted because you're surrounding yourself with people that have the insights and are
maybe
able
that's
to
it.
do
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like, it's really
Yeah.
funny
Yeah.
what room you're in, whether or not VAs are something you're talking about or not talking about, which is interesting, right?
It is very interesting. Yeah, I guess I would see it more like 50-50 in those rooms that you're in specifically, but
Yeah. I think there's great opportunity. My point is hearing what someone's doing with these kinds of insights and translating it to value, resource allocation, and essentially creating efficiency inside your agency is impactful. And not everybody can go on Salesforce tomorrow, but knowing that agents are doing that and driving decisions that are making large impacts inside an agency, you have to be aware, because the reality is you're competing against the agents that are doing this. Like, there's no two ways around that, right? And
right.
so anyway, I just don't think that everyone's talking about what you're talking about, because not necessarily true. There's plenty of agents that I've met that they're like, yeah, I don't know what a VA is. So
Fair,
it's kind of funny,
fair.
right?
Very, very funny.
So tell me some other ways that this has helped you stay ahead of the technology curve by being, you started through Neon, but I'm sure it opened your eyes to other things that you needed to do inside your agency. Talk to me about that a little bit, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, if it did anything, it hardened me for shiny objects too.
Mm,
It was a shiny object when we started, and honestly, this project took more man hours, and it took a large financial investment when you think about the time and the money it takes to power this stuff. But I'm really hard on vendors now. Everything has to really tie in. I can't bolt on any more things if I don't have to. So we're really hard. It's hard on. I'm hard on technology vendors. Not hard on them, like saying nasty things, but really just I understand what it's like under the hood. So I ask them questions that they probably don't normally get. And a lot of things, honestly, that these technologies are being sold, we're able to build on our own, which is a huge cost saving. So if it did anything there, it really opened the door with what we can do with what we have, and building these automations and these flows to be able to automatically do what we need it to do, and it helps our people. Like when we just how like our renewal. our renewal specialist and how they operate, they get each case about 10 different assigned automated tasks to go through. It's all set up. You don't manually have to go in and do that anymore. So that is huge for them. And it's more like a checklist. Hey, have you done this? Have you looked at an umbrella? Have you looked at limits? Have you checked on EFT and payment stuff? So there's all sorts of, does it need remarketed? Did it take a larger than normal increase to where something negatively is potentially, that business goes out the door? So there's a number of things that, that this project, it's really hardened me, for lack of a better term, but it's interesting. So, like when I look at a branding company or I look at a website builder, like I have a different expectation and understanding of how it actually works now.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give someone who has no idea where to start? They're still a paper agency, or, they haven't stepped into VAs yet, like kind of the regular mom and pop agency who's not done any updates. Where would they get started on a path like this?
Start calling other agents. Other agents are willing to help. All over the country. I got on IAOA. I was looking at a piece of health benefits technology, and I couldn't find anybody that was on it. Got in there, searched the forum, found a guy, sent him a Facebook message, and boom, 30 seconds later, yeah, let's jump on a call. So right then and there, agents are willing to help other agents. That, to me, honestly, is the biggest piece, is find somebody that's using what you want to do or that has been through what you want to accomplish, and ask. So that's the biggest thing for me, is don't be afraid to ask your peers. I mean, maybe you can't call your neighbor agency that's 3 doors down, but there's probably somebody in the state or a state beside you that's willing to help.
Yeah. Well, and that's the best part of this industry, right? That we're all willing to help each other, willing to, I mean, at the end of the day, we are all kind of competing with each other, but really you're all willing to help each other, which is my favorite part.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we are competing with each other, but kind of not really. I mean, I think we're on an independent agent show, so we're really competing against captives. I mean, that's what we're after,
That's
right?
true.
So
yeah, that's true.
That's, for us, that's what we're, it's that commoditized branding that these companies, we all know who they are. They're all on TV. Every other commercial is these. That's what we're trying to compete with and beat. So
yeah. Well, if someone wanted to reach out to you and talk about any of the things we talked about today, how could they reach you?
Yeah, it's just, you can shoot me an email, ryan@hitchingsinsurance.com, or you can find me on the web. Call the agency is fine too. So any of those ways. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I don't know, all that stuff. So, very easy to access.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ryan. I totally learned a lot. I have a page of notes here to follow up on different things that I learned. So I appreciate you joining us and helping us educate people about what it means to be a data-driven agency.
Yeah, it's awesome. I had fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to seeing you sometime soon, I'm hoping, right?
Yes, for sure. I hope so.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Insurance Refocused podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to hit subscribe and leave us a review so you'll never miss us. Want to learn more about how Agency Focus can help you grow your agency? Head to agency-focus.com or email Carey directly at carey@agency-focus.com. If you need to get in touch with me, feel free to shoot me an email at lindsay@agency-focus.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.